Hi, and thank you all for joining. I'm Are, Head of Communications here at ShiftX. In our little webinar series, we're inviting customers to talk about how they work process-oriented to enable continuous improvement and change. And if you have any questions during this session, feel very free to ask them in the comment section and we'll answer them on the go. Today, we're very lucky to have Petrine Djupvik-Flaa with us, the process leader at one of Norway's leading consultancies in engineering and architecture, Asplan Viak, and the Ph.D. candidate at the Norwegian Business School BI, with us on the other side of our video call. Hello, Petrine, how are you?
Thank you, I'm fine. This is really great. I'm glad to be here.
Good to hear. Where are you right now?
Well, I was supposed to be at the office today, but I found it more secure to take the call here at home. So I'm at the home office today. Nice.
We're almost in the same city. I'm at our headquarters here in Oslo. Well, let's keep it very short, so we'll just jump right in. It's not often that we're so lucky to have someone like you on the other side of our video call here that has the same amount of experience both academically and in the business world as you. So you're currently doing the academic research, your PhD, on how digitalization and technology affect how we work. Maybe you could just start by elaborating a bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Yes, you're right. What I look at is how use of technology in work process influences work practices. So I'm looking at practices and I'm looking at how the practices are changing over time. So, for example, if we implement a new form of technology in our recruitment process, how does it influence the recruitment process and practice in the company? And do we actually take care of the change of the process? So do we digitize or do we digitalize? And to be precise, do we convert something into a digital form from a paper, or do we actually convert the business processes over to a digital process?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to dive into and see if I find something interesting, and I do.
Yeah,
I hope.
I can imagine. How far have you come in your research and in your PhD? Are you almost there?
No, I'm about 2 years left. So I'm in the middle and I have a lot at Asplan Viak that I'm working on. So I have two more years to go.
Okay. And we've had a chat before, obviously, so I've done some research, and I was especially curious about the cultural and social aspects of the use of technology. You've said that we tend to bend the tools we use to fit us culturally and socially. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes. By that I mean, much research has been done on how different technologies affect organizations. But what is equally interesting is how organizations affect the technology, how the culture in the organization influences the implementation, the use, and the development of the technology. Because the technology today is maybe it's easier to develop also. Maybe it was easy before also, but it's an issue there that it's easy to change the technology.
Yep.
And research in this area shows that even if software developers create collaboration solutions, they are not necessarily used for collaboration in the companies. Mm-hmm. So it's probably not difficult to imagine that the culture and the social environment at work come into play and influences the use of the technology. So in addition to strategy, culture also eats technology for breakfast in a way.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting because at least at ShiftX, we think that we made so we try to make a notation that everyone can understand to kind of force people to talk the same language, no matter if you're in Oslo or in, I don't know, Paris or LA, whatever. Like a person working in a tech company, you kind of have an idea or an intention of how your technology should be used, like in best practice. But what research then shows maybe is that you tend to like, no matter the intention, you tend to fit it to the company or the organization that you're working in. Is that what it shows? Like, or I don't know if I'm getting if you take ShiftX as an example, would it be used very differently depending on what cultural or social setting it would be used? Like, no matter what we intend for it.
Yeah, I don't think you should stop trying to make a solution that that you have a background where you, for instance, want to be used in collaboration. But I think that we will probably see a different use of ShiftX if we compare organizations that are characterized by, for example, collective problem solving, process support, and innovation. And if we see different organization which is characterized by individual tasks, competition, knowledge hoarding, that you kind of hiding your knowledge, and client-oriented timekeeping organizations. I think you would probably see different use, but maybe they would not choose to use ShiftX in the beginning. I don't know. Maybe they would. Well, they need to have a visualization of their processes. I don't know, but it probably you would see a different kind of use in different organizations, and organizations that are really focused on billing hours and competition compared to those with more collaboration and innovation. They will use it differently.
So it's more about kind of what the goals or the rig of the organization, and maybe not that much like where it's located geographically, or
no. I think it's different organization, what they focus. The culture and the social aspects in the organization will affect the use of technology, and if you have, like some technology you stop use, or you make workarounds in the practices that so you have a kind of a technology that is trying to support the business processes, but then you have workarounds, or you stop using it, and those organization will be different.
Yeah.
And they will use the technology different. That's the main point.
Cool. And then like you said, you spend a lot of time on these PhD research at the moment, but you also work in Asplan Viak, which is one of our leading consultancies in architecture and engineering, with more than 1,200 employees. How do you get to use this academic research in your job as a process leader?
Yeah. So in my PhD, I actually do process research. I try to detect how work practices evolve over time, and as a process leader, I try to listen and include and keep the process moving toward a goal. And as a project leader, not the process leader, but a project leader, I of implementation of new systems, I use what I know about how work practices evolves. I try to listen, involve, but also design work process that takes into account the work practices that was carried out before. So this does not mean that we change slowly, but that we focus on understanding where we are on the journey of change. What is important for the project team, for the customers, and the project owner. So if we know these things, we also know what needs to be done. So it's kind of, I use what I read and learn in my PhD journey, and then I use it as a process leader, and then as a project leader. And it's probably not that different what others do, but I try to walk the talk in a way.
Yeah. Interesting. And you've only been like part-time in Asplan Viak for almost a year. How have you been working with processes this far?
I rarely sit and work on the processes alone. We are usually 2 or 3, but also up to 7, 8. I think the best thing is to have, for example, half a day workshop where we draw out the processes together. Yeah. Teams and Zoom are great tools, but we cannot stay focused for that long. And what we draw out the processes, and then we discuss it and how it should be developed further. So we usually work, and this is how it is today, and how do we want it to be. And then we include groups of most often leaders that come and give us some feedback and ask questions, and that we can discuss why we did this compared to this, and what we think will be the next step, and so forth. So it's a continuous, it's like a process. It's a continuous journey.
Yeah. And do you find it helpful to have like these set intervals of meeting, like workshops once a month or something, or do you keep it very, I don't know, organic, dynamic to like just invite for workshops whenever it's needed?
Well, right now we have a project, so we have meetings every week. Mm-hmm. So what I do is that I have the drawings of the process that we are working on the PC when we talk and discuss, or I put it up when we are in discussions that we're not able to solve in a way, or you have these continuous topics coming up. Yep. So many times. So I decided, okay, we draw a process on that, or we see why is this happening? Is there something that we can do to solve this? So the flow is moving in easier in a way.
Yeah. And so kind of continuous improving the process or the flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's interesting. And when we talked the last time, as an academic, you seem pretty pragmatic as well, and that you want to have a plan, but you're very open to like kind of adjust and adapt things on the go. Could you say something more about like having an open mind to to kind of adjust things when they don't go as planned?
Yeah. Yes, I know there always will be changes. So I make a plan, and sometimes the plan is quite detailed, but then when we start working, I just keep an eye on it now and then, so I know that we are moving in the right direction. But this way of using plans does not suit all projects. I know if you're building bridges and if you are really heavy projects, then you have different project plans, and you have a different you use the plans in a different way. But I have like a overall plan, and then I focus also a lot of the communication plan, because that keeps us in my mind. It keeps me focused and the team focused on how with the organization, because we always, so usually we communicate too little in projects. So I keep track of the communication plan, and then on the master plan. So I'm not. I keep changing. We keep changing.
Yeah.
Because things happens.
Yeah. And you kind of have to, like, you could probably read up on a lot of research and then still have to kind of.
Yeah, and I think it's also because a lot of the project, it includes the technology, and the technology is changing all the time, and we can connect other technologies to the one that we are working on, and so that keeps us moving and trying to find better solutions, but also communicate to the organization what are we delivering this week. We have a delivery plan starts after Easter, and we have deliveries each week. So, and then we cannot communicate to all in the company because they will get tired of us, but we keep delivering to the group that is in focus, and that keeps us on the right track, I hope.
Yeah. There's one topic that I found very interesting in the last time we talked, and I think a lot of other people do as well. Like I know a lot of companies and a lot of organizations are today very goal oriented. Like in no matter what framework you're using, if you're using KPIs, OKRs, whatever, it's very like goal focused. We should all have goals in our strategies to know what we're working towards. But you've had some interesting thoughts lately on whether it would be like sufficient to just have well-documented processes. For example, on onboarding, offboarding. Could you elaborate a bit about that, like goals versus processes? The thoughts?
Yeah. The goals always, well, in my world, they keep changing. And so are we. And in many contexts, I think we tend to be very heavily focused on goals, as you said. One is the degree to which the goals motivate us to make extra efforts. Do they? I'm not sure. The others is the direction that the goals pulls us in. Are the goals helping us to move in the direction that we want? Maybe it's more a direction instead of goal. And if the goals are quantified, which often is they are, and which is highlighted as one of the most important. It should be clearly defined and quantified. If not, you're not doing your job in a way. And what about everything that it's important but that is difficult to quantify? What do we do with that? So I keep discussing, and I try listening how we are thinking of goals. Like yesterday, I was in a meeting and we were discussing, it was report for this quarter, and I also reckon that when it's goals that is between areas, it's difficult to okay, did we reach the goals? And it's even difficult to set goals when it's divided on different departments.
Yep.
And then and since we are working a lot on onboarding and offboarding, I'm thinking, how do you measure that an onboarding or offboarding has been a success? And I'm sure we can find measures that is okay, but then I think, okay, we sometimes struggle a little bit we struggle to communicate the strategy out to the organization, that we develop a strategy and we have these nice processes that we include a lot of people in the organization, and we try to communicate. And I think that there are so many goals. And then I think maybe, could it be that we could make processes that support the strategy? And I'm sure we do in a lot of companies and in a lot of departments we do that. But I think maybe we could discuss it more and discuss it as much as we discuss the goals. How do we make processes that makes this happen? And maybe that would be easier for us as employees to actually deliver on the strategy and to make good processes for onboarding and offboarding. And so maybe it's some areas that it's easy to make goals, like quantitative within finance, which is my department actually. That's kind of funny. But and the other areas where it's more process driven. So maybe we could learn from each other and discuss more, because it seems like it's two different worlds in a way sometimes. And I have a story. I was working in a large company and I was working late. Maybe that was why it was an issue. But I was working late and the CEO came over to me and he asked, how are you doing and how is the project proceeding? And I said, in Norwegian, it's I have passe control. It means like I have okay control in a way, but not control. But and what I meant was that I have enough control that I know the project is proceeding in the way that we should, but I'm able to manage if we get something into the project that we have to manage and change a little bit. And the day after, the HR director came and asked me, how is the project going? I heard the CEO, he was asking, is it okay? And I said, okay, that's probably because I said passe control, okay control. So so I learned something there, but it's different context, different cultures, different language, different. So to manage that, it's both sometimes a challenge but it's really interesting, and I think we have a lot of to learn each other.
Yeah, yeah. No, I thought it was especially interesting because sometimes I find myself, and I guess I hope a lot of other people can feel the same way, and that we're forcing to set goals where it doesn't really make sense, or where you're really looking for something to quantify that makes sense, but that a different mindset could maybe help us follow the strategy in a more I don't know, helpful, sensible way. And it was very interesting thoughts, and maybe process work could help us here and kind of work together, and how we should reach I don't know, not reach the goals, but how we could work in line with the strategy and kind of the everyday work. How are you hoping to use ShiftX the coming months? I know you're a pretty young customer, so but are there any areas you're hoping to use the tool and the framework the coming months?
We use ShiftX now in the processes that we try to draw up in the project, the onboarding and offboarding, and we have some other deliveries on that project too. And I hope that project will be well received, because I think that's the first project where we actually use ShiftX. So I think if we manage that in a good way, I think we will.
Yeah.
I think it will be easier to show the others in my department and in other departments how we can use it, and that it's really nice to visualize, and then it's easier to discuss where are we in the discussion. Yep. Are we here? Where are we? Because one person is discussing the start, and the other one the end, and the third one the top level, and so it's really nice. So I'm really looking forward that more people in my department and the close department in the beginning starts using ShiftX.
Cool.
So that's the plan.
Yeah. And now we're closing in on time, so we're gonna leave you very soon. But I'm gonna ask it must be a difficult question for you that has this extensive knowledge in the field, but do you have any kind of last takeaways or advice to people trying to kind of involve their colleagues, motivate their colleagues to, or the whole organization to work more process oriented kind of?
Yeah, that's a tough one, but I think to find out where the organization is, who and listen to the discussions in the meetings. What do we keep coming back to? What do we talk over and over again? And is it something there that is possible to draw up? And I also think that to find the persons that you kind of get a sense of being in the process, not the mood, but in the process sphere where it's possible to discuss these things, and usually organizations have drawings of the processes in other. I will not mention any other, but in other type of tools. So maybe and what I found irritating by those is that it's not possible to give any comments and make a suggestion. Then you have to take a sip and send it, and it was really hard to do that. So and look at those drawings and see if it's possible to do to renew them. And I also know from research that it's a challenge for organization to reach when we have so many goals. So to discuss how do we reach these goals, because organization have goals. So how do we support those, and can we support them with the processes that we have, and start working with just a few, just to get a sense of where does this bring us. And then read and learn and talk to people that's done it before. So it's really a lot of fun when it starts finding the really good discussions about the processes, and we manage to change them to the better.
Cool. Yeah, because that's kind of what it's all about, to get a benchmark and then try to continuously improve. It's been very interesting talking to you, Petrine. I guess we could be talking for 5-6 hours, but this time we won't. Thank you very much for taking the time in your busy calendar. And thank you guys all for watching. If you found it interesting, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Asplan Viak as well, and try our tool for free at shiftx.com. Have a nice day.
Same to you. Thank you.